Great. So you guys are here for the Germany meeting, like I said earlier. My name is Emily Tom Atzberger, and I am the advisor for the Germany programs at UCSB. So within the rest of this hour, we will talk about the program options that you have available to you in the country. So what we're looking at here is just a simple search that I did on the UCEP page for the Germany programs. So we do have a total of 7 programs that you can choose from. All of these 7 programs are based in Berlin. So we are located in just one city within the country. But as I'm sure the returnees can tell you, it's a great city to be in, but it's also a great place to travel from as well. And they could talk about their traveling in a little bit. But you do have the 7 options. And what I want to do is talk about the programs in groupings. So I first want to talk about our summer offerings. So just taking a look at the survey results, there are some of you guys interested in going abroad in the summer. Here are the 3 choices that you have. They're a little bit different. So if you're looking for more courses, you would be looking at the Berlin summer program and then the technical university summer program. But if you're looking for more of an internship program where instead of taking classes, you're pursuing a full-time internship and you're looking at the summer global internship program then, which we offer in affiliation with the CIEE organization, which I'll talk about in a little bit. You can find all of this information on the website, so I don't really want to dwell on each of the GPA requirements, but as you can see here, they do vary depending on which program you're interested in, 2.5 to 2.75. All the programs that we're looking at here allow sophomores to go. So this just means that you have to have the sophomore class standing by the time you leave. So if you're currently a freshman, and if you reach the units minimum for a sophomore standing, it means that you can participate in this program after the spring term. Okay, so let's talk about the first one, the Berlin Summer Program at Free University. There are 3 different programs at Free University. So when we talk about free, we just want to make sure that we're talking about the Free University program that you have specific questions about. This one is the Berlin summer one. It's a fairly short program. It's 4 weeks long. Our summer programs in general within the collection of EEP programs can run between 4 to 8 or 9 weeks long. This is definitely on the shorter end. So when you're taking a look at a program like this, you just want to ask yourself, what do I want to do in Berlin? Will 4 weeks be enough for me? These are academic programs, so you will be spending a good chunk of your time in the classroom. So you just want to set for yourself a plan to make sure that 4 weeks is enough. And if it's not enough, then you can take a look at whatever other programs at Free University. On this program, it's very structured. So as you can see here, there were 3 tracks. So you would pick one of these 3 listed. In total, you would receive 10 UC quarter units. So that's pretty good for a summer program. And then you get to choose what you want to focus on. So if you just want to focus on improving your language skills, then you would choose option 1. If you want a little bit of both, you would do a language class and then an elective in English. And if you don't want to do language at all, that's fine. You can then just take 2 courses in English. Similar to our other summer programs, when we talk about electives in English or just courses offered in English, this usually means that there's already a curated list of courses that you have to pick from. So you won't have a ton of classes to pick from. For some programs, maybe you'll have 15 to 20 courses, which is still a good amount for the summer, but you just have to be mindful of that you have to be flexible in terms of what types of courses you can take and you want to take. So for this program, for example, we're talking about courses like architecture in Berlin, some cultural classes, art classes. I believe this program also offers a migration course, which our students really enjoy. So just kind of keep that in mind, because as we talk about our immersion programs at Free University, those programs or that specific program will give you many more courses to pick from. On this program, You would be living with other UC or international students, and it would be arranged by the program, which is a huge perk for this specific program. Housing, in terms of who has to arrange it, varies greatly depending on the program that you select when you're studying in Berlin. The question that I get a question that I get a lot, especially from summer students, is how many days a week would I have to be in class for? And that information is at the bottom of the screen. The semi-intensive language classes meet 3 days a week. The intensive ones meet every day, and that's pretty common across the world, across different languages. And you really need to be in class every day to really have it be an intensive learning process. And then the subject courses, which will be taught in English, will meet 2 days a week. Programs like this, because these are programs geared towards international students, another thing to keep in mind is that most of the students in the classes with you will be other UC students and other international students. So you won't have the same experience as students participating in our fall programs, where most of the students will be local students, so German students. So also think about the type of experience that you want. They're all good experiences. It ultimately comes down to what do you want your experience to look like. The next program we'll talk about is a technical university program. It runs the same way as the one that we just looked at for free in terms of it is a program for international students, so you won't necessarily get local students in your classes. You will most likely be taught by local professors, which is nice. This program does run a little bit longer than 4 weeks long. I think it's for about 6 weeks from early July to the middle of August. You can choose to take an optional language class if you want to. It's not required. The requirement is that students will need to register for 10 units. And the way that this program works is that they split the courses up into 2 different sections. So you have one 2-week course and then one 4-week class. So there are 2 different courses in each module. For the 2-week course, you're getting 4 units. For the 4-week course, you're getting 6 units. And students who've done this program before, they really like it, especially if you're interested in science and engineering, because they do tend to offer cool elective courses that you might not get here at UCSB, or if it's being offered here, maybe you can't get into them. So it does definitely supplement the academic experience that you're already getting here. Housing, again, like the other program, is arranged by the university, and you can stay in either dorms or hostels. A quick thing about housing for most of Berlin, I wouldn't say all the time, but usually when I'm talking to past participants, housing usually isn't that close to your actual university. So there is usually some commuting time involved. So if that's something that you're concerned with, it's something that you can look into on the UCE sites, because it will give you a range. So for example, if you're living in a dormitory, it will say it will take about 20 to 30 minutes to get to school, and if you're living in another option, that could be increased to 40 to 50 minutes. It just kind of depends. Our next option in the summer for Berlin is our global internship program. This one runs for about 2 months, so it gives you longer time in the country. This program is affiliated with CIED, which is another study abroad organization that we partner with. They're a very good company to partner with, and they have a lot of staff on site to help with the internship placement process, and that's why we work very closely with them on the specific program. So this is for students who want to be in Berlin for the summer, students who want to get that professional experience. So again, a full-time internship. So you're talking about 35 to 40 hours a week. For that, you get 9 UC quarter units. But because you're getting academic units for that, you will also need to complete something academic to get those units. And for this program, we're talking about an integrated academic seminar. So it could mean weekly in-person or online meetings, papers that you would have to write, or readings that you would have to read ahead of time. Sometimes you attend lecture series, you have guest speakers. So when you finish the program, you would have that professional piece, but then you would also have an academic component to it, which is nice. The internship culture in Berlin, we found it has a huge startup culture to it. So there are pros and cons to that. So if students are looking for an internship with, a huge international company, they might get one, but they might also get an internship with one of the many startups that you can find there, which students also like because, with any startup company, that usually means that there aren't a ton of staff within the company yet. So it allows the interns to really wear a lot of different hats, to get a lot of different experiences. And I know that past students have really liked that. But when we're talking about internships in Berlin, the types of internships, there are many fields that students can intern in. But the ones listed on the screen are those that we like to kind of talk about when we talk about interning in Berlin. So as you can see, a good variety of fields that you can pursue there. And then for housing, it's also arranged by CIEE, and your one and only option for this program is dorms. Our next program is a fall program, and we label this as a themed international program, and it's a European Studies program at Free University. So this is the second program at Free that we're talking about. This is an international program in that you would be in classes with other UC and international students. Students interested in this program need to be aware of the language prerequisite. It's really for students who have 0 to 5 quarters of German. So once you have completed German 6, you are no longer eligible. Some students, will then say to themselves, I will just stop taking German then so that I can participate on this program. If you're one of those people, my advice to you is no, keep taking German so that you can pursue one of our other programs at Free University, because then it will give you many more academic opportunities and course opportunities. And we'll talk about those programs in a little bit. This program is also very structured. A lot of our international programs are structured in terms of what types of courses you can take. This one is divided up into 2 tracks. The first one is the beginner language track, where you do 1 German language class and 3 upper division classes taught in English. And then the intensive language track, where it's 2 language classes and 2 upper division classes in English. It's my understanding that the beginner language track is really for absolute beginners. So once you've taken German 1, you are put into the other track automatically. So keep that in mind. You have a lot of different options for housing for this program. You can do a homestay, a dormitory, and within a dormitory option, you can stay at a student village, which is more of like an apartment complex, or the student hotel, which it's my understanding is literally like a hotel and it has a hotel vibe to it, which some students like. So it depends on what it is that you're interested in. This program is a fall program and also a spring program. This fall program begins in the fall and ends in the fall so that you can return back to UCSB for winter quarter. And this is, and I want to stress that because when we talk about the other free program for the fall, it works a little bit differently. So when we're talking about the coursework that you can take in English on this program, the European Studies program, again, it's a themed program. So the courses will be along the theme of European studies. So, migration, business culture, history, sometimes they offer music classes. And the best way to really understand what they might offer for your term abroad is to get yourself to the FUBEST course catalog circled in red, and you can find this in the academics tab of the UCEP program page. Once you click on that, it will bring you to the FUBEST website where you can take a look at the classes and also housing information. It has a lot of good information on that site, so you should definitely check it out. Although this program is officially called European Studies on the UCEP pages, it's also referred to as FUBEST. So if I say that for the rest of the presentation, I mean it's this program I'm referring to. This is a picture of Sarah. Unfortunately, she can't be with us. She can't be with us today, but she studied on this program this past spring and had a great time. She is available for you to connect with. So if you're interested in emailing her, you can shoot me an email or just leave the information in the chat box, and I can email you for your contact information later on. The next set of programs we're going to talk about are the immersion programs. So we offer this at 3 universities, Free, Humboldt, and Technical. they all work the same way. So when I talk about them, I kind of lump them all together. The major differences would be, the location and then the types of subjects that are offered at each one. The one thing that I forgot to mention when I talked about the European Studies program is that Free University has two campuses. The European Studies program, that one is not located on the main campus. It's still located within Greater Berlin, but it's a little bit outside of the city center. Whereas Free University, the Immersion Program one, is located, it's more centrally located within the Berlin Study Center. And then there's Humboldt and Technical. As you can see, the GPA is a 2.85. Unlike the other programs, you do have to have junior standing to participate in this. And for these programs, we do offer the fall, spring, and year. All of these programs offer you the opportunity to take your classes in German and or English. It does get a little bit complicated, so I do have a slide that talks just about that. So let me just get started with all the information I need to share about this program. So they have made some changes to this program since last year. So this might look a little bit different to the returnees that are with us in this presentation. What you see in the left are all the possible terms that you have to pick from. So there's the fall including pre-ILP, spring including pre-ILP, spring without ILP, year, and then the last year option. Let me just decipher a couple of things for you. So the pre-ILP, that stands for the Pre-Intensive Language Program. So this option is for students who want to take their courses in German, but yet do not meet that requirement yet. And it's because students who wish to take their coursework in German must have taken through German 6 prior to departure. So if you are leaving the United States with only 3/4 of German, you can enroll in the pre-ILP. That means getting to Germany early so that you can take the equivalent of German 4, 5, 6 during the pre-intensive language program so that you can take your courses in German. Next, we have the standard ILP, which is the intensive language program. And this is similar to the pre-ILP, but it's not meant to give you 3/4 of German within a couple of weeks. These are classes that students take just to help them with their writing, grammar, and speaking skills to help you transition to the German academic culture. The ILP is already built in to the fall, spring, and standalone year options. So that's non-negotiable. You have to do that even if you've never taken German before. It kind of just helps you get situated. So hopefully that clarifies for you what these two things are, and helps you better understand why there are so many options that you can have for this program. Most of them are self-explanatory, but let me just talk about the spring. There are 3 spring options, which causes a lot of confusion. So if you do the spring one, the late February to late July, this means that you would go in late February, you would do the ILP, the Intensive Language Program, and then start your classes. If you do the spring, including pre-ILP, you get there even earlier. You do the pre-ILP, and then the regular ILP, and then you take your classes. If you do the spring without ILP, that's pretty much self-explanatory. That means that as soon as you get to Berlin, you're taking your classes. You're not getting that adjustment period. So yeah, the standalone fall and year ones have the ILPs built in. For the spring, you have the option to either do the ILP or not. Okay, hopefully all that made sense. Now I'm just talking about what it would look like for you academically when you go on one of these programs. So as of this past year, students were able to apply to this program without having any German language background, and it's because more and more courses are being taught in English in most, but not all, disciplines offered at these 3 schools. And again, if you do want to take your classes in German, you do have to have at least 2 years of language study prior to going, or that 3/4 of German, and then you enroll on the pre-ILP. The breakdown of the types of units that you will get and the number of courses you have to take are clearly listed on this page here. So we're looking at 4 to 5 courses per semester. And then 1 course for the ILPs as well. I do want to go back to this page. One thing that I forgot to talk about was not just the ILPs, but also when the programs begin and end. So we like to say for most EEP programs, if you go for the fall, you come back for a winter quarter. That is not the case for the immersion programs in Berlin. As you can see here for the fall term, it starts in late August and it ends in the middle of March. It means that you will miss both fall and winter quarters. So you would come back for spring quarter. That's super important to remember because this is a one-off for EEP programs. Same thing for the spring. You start in late February and then you end in July. So if you're interested in taking summer session classes at UCSB or if you want to do an internship in the summer, you do have to take that end date into consideration. Okay, getting back to this though. So to figure out, how many units or how many courses you will take in total when you go on one of these programs, you just have to figure out which option you want to pursue and add up the number of courses and then the number of units as well. These programs are called immersion programs because when you're in the classroom setting, you are in there with other international students, certainly local students, and then other UC students should they register for the classes that you're interested in. Immersion programs are great if you're interested in these because typically our students are able to take classes from their course catalog. So, courses from a wide variety of subject areas. It gives you a lot of classes to pick from. For housing, unlike the other programs, you will have to find your own housing. But if you're interested in living in a dormitory, then you can apply for a spot in the dorms through the university. But they do tend to be a little bit further away from the academic buildings. In terms of finding coursework in English, so I know I usually work with, at least this past year, several students who wanted this, and it really is important for you to do your research so that you're picking the correct university. Like I said, most of the courses are still offered in German, but there are more being offered in English, but it really is your job to do the research, and the best way to do this is to get yourselves onto the UCEEP program page, and then you can click on academics, and then find your way to the catalogs and resources section of the page. All of these links here are super helpful, but the one that I circled in red here, if you click on it, a PDF will open and it will have a breakdown of the subjects offered at each of the 3 universities. And then if a box is in blue with an X, it means that there will be courses offered in English and in German. So definitely take a look at this as you're deciding which university to attend. So take a look at that, but you can also take a look at the Free University course catalog so that you can see what courses they're offering right now. You can also take a look at what past students have taken UC-wide and what types of major credit or GE credit our students have received for the classes that they took abroad. And you would do that by looking at the course catalog and then the campus credit abroad database. It's super important to remember though that similar to here at UCSB, we have absolutely no idea what classes will be offered abroad next fall. For this program in particular, the course listings tend to get distributed right before students leave. So maybe a month before the program begins is when you will actually register for classes. So being flexible on this type of program is an absolute must, not just because we don't know exactly what classes will be offered, but also because we don't know if that one exact class you want to take will be offered in English all the time. The 3 universities, so there's Free University, Humboldt, and Technical. We like to say that, Free and Humboldt universities, they will offer more of the humanities and social sciences, whereas if you're a STEM student, you might want to take a look at Technical University. but take a look at these two charts to see what offers, which universities offer the subjects that you're looking for. And these are generally the subjects that are offered in English. Again, no guarantees. You'll have to go and do your research, but hopefully this will give you some idea of which university you might want to lean towards. Navigating the host university sites to take a look at the course catalogs can also be a little bit tricky. So when you get onto the UCSB program pages, we have PDFs there that will guide you through the entire process down to what to click on to get what it is that you're looking for. So that's super helpful. Okay, so having said that, I'm wondering if Mark and Irene can maybe share about what their academic experiences were like. What types of classes did you take? Did you do them all in German? Were they hard? Anything that you want to share about academics?
Yeah, I can go ahead. So I took 2 psych classes, 1 film class that I use as a GE, and then 1 like German language class. I'd say that they're not like harder than classes at UCSB. The difficulty comes from it being in a different language. However, I feel like if you're at the requirement, you can get used to it pretty quickly, especially since you're doing the ILP for most programs. And I know a lot of my friends as well, they took like actual German courses during the semester. I'd say the climate's a little different in terms of like schooling, because you only have class once a week for most of your classes, which is kind of an adjustment because you kind of have to, stay on it a little bit more yourself. But, I know a lot of people like that kind of system. So if you do prefer that, definitely a great program to go on. And yeah, I think that's all I have for now.
Thanks. What about you, Irene?
So I took 1 class for my history major, 1 for my German major, a class I'm petitioning for a GE, which was a film class, and that was actually in English. The rest of them were in German. And then this other lecture series about like cultural studies in Berlin. And I agree with Mark. I think the main difference is just that it's a lot more self-motivated. Like there wasn't really homework, except for my German classes. We had weekly homework, but for any other non-language classes, you basically just had a final. So there's a lot riding on that 1 grade, but I did find, throughout the semester, it's a lot more chill, and you're basically expected to kind of keep on top of it yourself. Yeah.
And what was it like taking your classes in German? Because I know that a lot of students they're kind of hesitating, like they're interested, but it sounds scary.
I think it definitely is probably the biggest challenge that I faced, but the professors I talked to were really understanding, especially when it came to like the finals. The professor for the Berlin Cultural Studies class, I spoke to him and he said I could write my final paper in English or German, whichever I preferred. Another professor I let her know like German is not my fluent language, and she also took that into consideration when it came to grading my final exam. So I think most professors should be pretty accommodating of that if you approach them early on.
Okay, thank you. And where did you guys live?
We actually lived in the same building. It was in Lichtenberg, which is kind of like a suburb of Berlin, I guess is the best way to put it. I think for most of my classes, it took about 30 to 40 minutes. Some of my classes were about 50 minutes away, just depending on where they were, because Humboldt is really spread out throughout the city. There's definitely, there's like a main building, but that's not where most classes are held. So you will be going around the city quite a bit if you choose to go through Humboldt. But I think that was actually really cool because you kind of got to explore Berlin and all the different areas just going to class. And also, you yes, you're on the train, but like you can read or get homework done, or do whatever you need to do. So yeah, I think it's no matter where you live, like you'll have a pretty good time. I think there's certain parts of the city where it's like a little more like actiony and stuff, but it's also nice to live in like the quieter parts, because then you can actually have a place to sort of rest and get away from the hustle and bustle of the city.
Okay. Did either of you guys visit free or technical universities?
So the only time I was really over there was for EAP related meetings, because I was living in the east and it was like pretty far west to go to free university.
Okay. So unfortunately, I don't have returnees that studied at those two universities, but I can at the end plug in a video of two returnees that we have videos for that studied at each of the locations. So if you want to hear about what it's like studying at those universities, I can give you the YouTube link at the end of this presentation. Let's see, in terms of academics, anything else that you want to share about academics?
Actually, yeah. In terms of like, there's like two different types of classes really. There's lecture classes and there's seminar classes. Seminar classes are actually really fun. So if you do go to Germany, I really recommend the seminar classes because they're usually a little bit smaller, and you get to you really have more of like a discussion with the teacher about the material. That's just me personally. The lectures are almost exactly like lectures at UCSB, but they don't really have sections, so it's really only a lecture. So yeah, if you can, take the seminars. That's just my little bit of advice.
Great, thank you. And did either of you intern when you were there?
Yes, I interned from January to April.
Ooh, and what did you do?
I worked at a youth refugee home in West Berlin. It was really interesting and rewarding, and definitely I basically only spoke German there, so that really forced me to kind of get out of my comfort zone. And I think experiences like that really helped me improve my German skills as well.
Okay, great. Students who typically go on these immersion programs do intern. I mean, it's not a requirement, but it does definitely add to your overall experience when you're abroad, and helps with those language skills, like Irene was saying. But students can certainly intern there, and we've had several returnees do that. Whether it's working with refugees, which has become very common for our students. We also had a student intern in the technical field in addition to taking classes. So that's always an option there. All right, just quickly about just academic planning. So I did talk about how to find your classes. During the process, though, built into the application process, you do have to complete what's called the academic planning form. You do this with your academic advisors, knowing that you're putting down the classes that you want to take when you go on EAP, with an understanding that you register much later in the process. So you do have to be flexible and think about what if these classes aren't being offered, what happens then? You then register for your classes once you're abroad. The posting of EAP grades can take 90 days, sometimes earlier, but we like to say about 90 days from when the program ends. And that must happen before you can start petitioning for major, minor, and GD requirements. So just be mindful of that. And next, let's have our returnees now talk more about the personal experience. So we talked about the academics, but when you go abroad, you're not just taking classes. There's so much more that you can do besides sitting in the classroom. So I have some pictures here from Irene and Mark. So I guess I'll start with Irene. What are we looking at?
Yeah, so the top left picture is in front of the German Parliament building in Berlin. And actually my friend visited me. She was studying abroad in the Netherlands at the same time. So Germany is pretty well located, so you can kind of hop around different countries, and vice versa. Like if another person you know is studying abroad at the same time, you can kind of go on trips together, visit each other. So she came and visited me, and it was really fun. And then the picture below that, I visited her in the Netherlands. I went to Amsterdam. And then the picture on the right is in a city called Potsdam, which is right outside Berlin, and that's with a friend of mine who I met. I think probably one of the most memorable parts of studying abroad was meeting so many people from different countries as well, not just other UC students or Germans. Like, you can really meet people from all over the world, and I found that really interesting, and I made some lifelong friends.
Great. We have a couple more.
And then top left, I'm sure you can see, this is after the pandemic had hit. This is a girl I met who was also studying abroad from UCSB, and we ended up living together from February till August, and that's us riding the train with our masks on. And then the top right is a picture taken in Ireland, where I went with two of my friends. Like I said, from Germany, that's such a great central location because you can get budget airplane tickets and train tickets to go to so many different places if you want to do some traveling. And on the bottom left, a friend, again, visited me, a German girl I knew, and that's us at a rooftop bar.
Cool, thank you. Mm-hmm. And then we have some of Mark. What are we looking at here?
Yeah, so I went blonde. We're gonna gloss over that. Anyways, so the first picture, top left, is me and my friend Kate. We went to the Berlin Zoo, and something that's really fun about Berlin is they have these bear mascots everywhere, like Berlin, but yeah, so Berlin Zoo is actually really pretty. Recommend. Underneath that, that's actually that's the dome on top of the Parliament building, and it's like looking down into the Parliament. The German Parliament, like when it was rebuilt, they had the idea that like they wanted it to be like open to the public, like viewable for all the people. So that was that. Top right, my friend Delaney visited me from England, and Berlin surprisingly gets really nice sunsets sometimes, like almost like UCSB level sunsets. So one of those hit that night, and it was really nice because I got to, be with my friend Faith was there too. She's taking the picture. And then below that is a hockey game. I met a couple of people who were like super spontaneous in like the best way. So one day they were like, hey, I want to go to a hockey game this week. And I was like, yeah, sure. So yeah, it was a really great game. It was my first hockey game. So, always experiencing new things when you go abroad.
Yeah, great. And a couple more.
Yeah, and then the left picture is Rome. I went with my friend Gianna and Steph, and these are the Spanish steps in Rome. And this was like right before COVID, which is like kind of sad, to see. But yeah, it was a really great trip. Like Irene said, everything is so close in Europe, so I think it's like a 1-hour plane ride to get to Rome from Berlin. And yeah, and then the picture on the right is actually also Italy, but in Naples. You're almost always staying in hostels because they're unbelievably cheap. And this hostel is like super nice and cool. So, and that's actually Steph, who was on that trip with me and Gianna. So, yeah, those are my picks.
Oh, thanks. All right, so before we go into Q&A, just want to talk about next steps. So definitely research the program that you might be interested in. Talking to your academic advisors is key for any successful EEP planning process. If you don't have a passport yet, you do want to get one ASAP. And then you want to figure out when your application is due. For Germany, I do have several different deadline dates depending on the program. The first one starts, I think, the first week in January. So you do want to take a look at our deadlines page to figure out when it's due. It's an online application, and it's not hard at all. So you can always connect with me if you have any questions. Here's my contact information. I do have drop-in hours. They're all by Zoom, so hopefully I can see you by Zoom should you have any questions. I'm going to stop recording now so that you guys can start to ask your questions if you have any.